Hi everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with a VeVe OMI update video. A couple other things as well. Guys, if you're new, welcome. For not, welcome back. I love you all. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. Commenting, liking, subscribing is a free way to help support the channel. Non-free ways are Patreon and smashing that super thanks button down below. This hat is technically being borrowed from Wraithax that now has the number 41 logo. Go watch those videos. Anyway, it was brought to my attention earlier today, a couple of Uncle Jeremy's, aka Jeremy Padowar's tweets here. And first off, Uncle Jay, if you're watching this, how's it going, brother? I hope you're doing well. And to quote Whitney here, I hope life has treated you kind, and I hope life just continues to get better for you. Anyway, and come back on the channel or give me a call whenever you want. Anyway, he says the other day, and I brought this up on a stream, where he posted the other day on October 29th, 11:37 a.m., saying, I invested in 15 seed A round companies during the Rona. 12 failed. But one of them that he invested in was Whatnot. I sought them out. Nobody had a better live selling platform. This week, they announced the latest round, $11.5 billion hair market cap. 80% fail rate for him, but he says all it takes is one. Perfection is overrated. Okay, I see the message there. Fair point. And good play. Yeah, Whatnot's awesome. VeVe just partnered with them. Then you have somebody called Ico Nova that says, is Jeremy done with OMI dumping on all of us? Which I think is a little bit of a baited question here, because Jeremy's been clear before that he's never sold a single OMI. So he responds saying, what do you mean by dumping? I've never sold a single OMI. With that said, what's the point in selling now? I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I deeply believed sounds like he means past tense. But yeah, the point in selling now, I mean, assuming he has hundreds of millions of OMI, maybe he can get like 50 grand for it. Like, again, if he wanted, and again, for someone like him, 50 grand, still 50 grand, could do whatever, but for the amount that he had when we were at like 1.3 cents, crazy amount, versus now is like, okay, yeah, it's not really worth it. And then he goes on and he says, I want to be clear, I'm not a believer at this point. This was a sprint. This was not a marathon. So let's go over this a little bit. Jeremy has said this for quite a while, that it is a sprint, not a marathon. But if we examine that for a minute, let's take a look at that, because VeVe and OMI have played this like a marathon, and they're still standing. Other companies like Recur, Cryptoys, Autograph.io, the ones that did kind of sprint, they're not around anymore. And what happened to them? Well, they're not around not because they got like bought, although Cryptoys might be bought out. They haven't technically waved that white flag yet, but all the other companies, yeah, no, they're gone. And they're not gone because they got bought up. They're gone because they raised money at a very high valuation that they definitely didn't justify at the time. And they were not good at the allocation of capital. And what happened? They overspent, and the run rate was too high because they sprinted and they failed. So we should also note here that Jeremy Pador is a hyper successful individual. He's incredibly intelligent. I've interviewed him enough times to say that he's probably smarter than me. I'm going to say he at least has a 150 IQ, probably 160. Again, I would say he's smarter than me and is an absolute titan in his field. To be able to have his company be acquired by Berkshire Hathaway is no easy feat. It's like Qui-Gon when he says, training to become a Jedi is not an easy challenge. And even if you succeed, it's a hard life. He's probably busier than most of us. That being said, again, in his field, and crypto, I don't think is something he really spends much time with. Not because he's not smart enough, I just said he's smarter than me, most likely, but just because he's so busy with so many other things, he probably just doesn't have a ton of time to dedicate to this. He messaged me once about Earth2, and I didn't want to say word vomit, but I gave him like an autistic response. And he's like, okay, that's just didn't have time to go into it. So he's just like, I'll pass on this for now. No problem. They're another one that's still here, by the way, Earth2. Shout out to them. Anyway, and even in his tweet that was kind of requoted here, he said that he had an 80% fail rate for seed rounds and Series A companies. And granted, in VC world, yeah, that's par for the course. You invest in 10 companies, at least half of them go to zero, like 50% right off the bat. They fail, they go to zero. One or two you're probably going to lose money on that are kind of dying. Maybe they get acquired, you recoup a little bit on. One or two might, kind of keep its value a little bit. It's like, okay, still here. But then you're really hoping that one is like, yeah, that needs to go hard. That needs to cover all of the other losses. And then it needs to obviously make money as well. Now, he got that with Whatnot. But again, that's VC world, which is wild to me because I come from high risk lending where, yeah, in that particular field, you have like an 18% default rate. And that's why interest rates are 24.99%. And sometimes the factor rates go even higher than that, especially with the timelines that they're given. But that being said, I had the lowest default rate in history. I had less than a 1% default rate up until the pandemic. And then things just got horrible. But up until the pandemic, again, less than 1% default rate. I'm very good at what I do. And those, yeah, they weren't startups. You got to see like, okay, these people were doing, X amount of dollars each month into a business bank account. You could take a look at all their financials and be like, okay, here's what you're depositing. Here's your average daily balance. Here's your tax return. Like, you can ask for as much paperwork as you want to do the underwriting. But they also had 500 and 600 credit. So, pick your poison there. Do you want granted with a lot of these what these VCs invest in are people that are generally successful, but it is startups and there is no revenue. So a little bit of disadvantage there. Can't really tell the future. But I guarantee you all of these VCs would never touch any of the things that I was in. You have less than 700 credit? Nope, not touching you. 700 was high in the industry that I was in. And this isn't like a pat yourself on the back, maybe a little bit. This is the fact that, again, I'm very good at what I do. And what is crypto if not, investing in type of startups or risky projects? And again, even Jeremy points out himself that he has an 80% fail rate. And everything that I've invested in is still here. So again, when Jeremy goes out and says that this was, and he's said this for a long time, it's a sprint, not a marathon, and all the companies that did sprint are either dead or dying, ready to be acquired, or they're just dead. And VeVe's still here, and it's not like, yeah, they're still hanging on, we don't really know if they're going to be here in 6 months, though. No, they are the #1 digital collectibles platform in the space, bar none. Second is miles behind. Third is probably miles behind that. So what else has Jeremy said about this? Well, Jeremy's been pretty vocal about wanting to get on exchanges. And he, along with many other people, had assumed that was the end-all be-all. Because, hey, it used to be when you got on an exchange, let's say like Coinbase, they would go in and promote you. They would go and cross-promotion, be like, hey, we're launching this token at this time. And yeah, that would often lead to a little bit of a pump. And also, OMI years ago took 16 steps in order to buy. So people are like, the average Joe six-pack is not going to want to do all of that. They're just not going to buy it because it's too complicated. And it's, again, it's not on Coinbase. If it's on Coinbase, most people can figure that out. Well, other people wanted Binance as well. And I've been saying it for a long time, but it finally has come out over the past couple of weeks that Binance is very predatory, often wanting 10+% of the entire token supply and millions of dollars worth of upfront fees before they even list you. That's just to get to their Series A listing, which is not a major listing. And yeah, if we would have listened to not just Jeremy, but everyone else that wanted to be on Binance, yeah, that would have been a very net negative for the token because everyone that's been listed on Binance this year, again, has had a net negative impact. And it's like, okay, even if the founders could see the future and they knew that's what's happening, which again, anyone that's at least tried to do business with Binance kind of knows. You don't need to be the founders of VeVe to know that. But it's like, okay, what's the excuse on Coinbase? Why not them? That's pretty straightforward, right? Well, yeah, it was more straightforward than that, but it still cost a pretty penny in the seven figures, which again, yeah, they didn't do. But let's examine what would have happened if we did. Well, yeah, we're on Coinbase Wallet and Binance Wallet and OKX Wallet and a bunch of the other wallets that use an aggregator so you can buy it. And that makes it easier, but it still wasn't a Coinbase listing. Well, now, unless you're in New York, because New York sucks, anywhere in the US, you can buy OMI on Coinbase. So a lot of people that thought, yeah, it's just lack of access to the token. Once we get that listing on even just Coinbase, we'll pump. And what happened when we got listed on there? Nothing. The token's gone down. Now, that's not to say that, yeah, I got listed on Coinbase, token went down. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the overall market that goes in cycles. And for alts, they've been in a bear for quite some time. And there's a lot of manipulation around just the big ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, Bitcoin has been at all-time highs fairly recently. And even still now at 110, it's still at a point where it's like, okay, that's bullish for Bitcoin. But ETH at 3,800, not that bullish for it. So there's a lot of money that hasn't gone into alts. Like, we're not in alt season yet. If we were, and memes had run, and games had run, and metaverse narrative had run, and NFTs had run, and if all of that happened and VeVe and OMI stayed down here, I'd be like, okay, yeah, something's definitely fundamentally wrong. But it's not. VeVe has only added to their fundamentals, and the ease of access to the token has only gotten easier. You've gotten more access to the token. Again, on Coinbase, unless you're in New York, you could be anywhere else in the US. You don't even need crypto. You can go on and have USD and buy it, and it takes 12 seconds to do. And it's like, okay, well, why didn't we pump? Like, what's going on? Like, Jeremy's had to have had some other potential solutions, right? Well, yes, he has. He had said that if you go in and burn, we want to be able to have stronger burns. We want to be able to burn at a massive rate, because he's been pretty unhappy with the amount of burns that we've had up to recently. We've had days where we've had 3 million in burns, which is fun. But yeah, he's correct when he says that is a fraction. That is a drop in the ocean of OMI. And he's right. There's 300 something billion tokens out there, 305, give or take. And burning 3 million is like 1% of 1%. And so, Jeremy, I understand that 100%. Math is mathin' on that point. But that's just one of the things. And I don't know really how much that he wants us to burn, how much he thinks would be good. And the founders could do that if they want. But I've seen this play before, where I've seen founders of tokens that burn 99% of the supply, and it doesn't really do much for the token. Even when they go and buy back the token and then burn the token that they just bought back, that's good for optics. And it, yeah, hey, buybacks are cool and burning is cool. But once you buy back the token, it doesn't really matter what you do with it. You could hold it or you could burn it. The buy pressure has already happened. And again, I think buybacks are awesome. And again, burning is good for optics, but it doesn't really do anything for the price. And I've had conversations with a lot of people about this, and it seems that some people, they just say like, okay, if we get on an exchange, then we'll moon. It's easy. Okay, well, we're on multiple exchanges right now, and again, the token's only gone down. That's not because of it was on those exchanges. It's just because, again, the overall market has just been trash. Government's not open. The Clarity Act isn't passed yet. The tariff war every now and then again, just mass manipulation of Bitcoin and ETH. So again, not really the fault of anyone saying it's exchanges or not. It wouldn't have helped. Same thing with burns. You could have the founders burn half their supply if they want. I don't know any reason why they would, but But they could burn billions of tokens, and again, it wouldn't really matter because it doesn't add any buy pressure. Burns are great, but it's really meaningless when there's no buy pressure for the token. And again, that pressure will come when the narrative hits. Moving on. And I know some people say, okay, well, Chavez, you just told us that Jeremy had an 80% fail rate on stuff that he believed in, that he invested in. And now he's saying he doesn't believe in VeVe. So if he did believe in something and they failed, now he doesn't believe in something. Don't you think that's a guaranteed fail? Well, you could look at it like that. But again, Jeremy, for all of his excellence in so many things that he does and excels at, and again, he has the success with Whatnot, which I'm super happy for him about. This doesn't really seem like his forte. And again, when it comes to investing in undervalued companies, of which none of my investments have failed or gone to zero, even just in crypto, not including my less than 1% default rate for the people that had 500 and 600 credit, Jeremy is the Michael Jordan of his field. But you could still ask Michael Jordan to play baseball, and he's one of the best athletes in the world. So of course he's going to still play in the minor leagues or AA, whatever he played at, and still be okay, but not great. I feel like Jeremy is kind of like that in his field. Yeah. Knowing what people want with toys and just, again, absolute rock star. But in this, it's something that if we're talking in karate terms, maybe he's kind of a white belt or blue belt at, where again, he hasn't had that much practice and experience in because he's so busy with the stuff that he crazily excels at. So I would say for this particular scenario, VeVe, again, has those great fundamentals. They're still making money. They grossed like $85,000 in like 12 hours on that Street Fighter thing that just came out. Probably 20 hours by the time you guys see this, whenever I decide to upload it. But yeah, I know Uncle Jeremy's saying that he is not a believer at this point. That doesn't mean he can't believe in the company again. I think he will. I think it's just going to take, again, that change of narrative. Normally, I would have just ignored this, but I feel like this was a point that had to be counterbalanced because the fam was going to go crazy with it, so I had to. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. If I missed anything, let me know. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Actually, before I end this video, I want to go in and say a couple of other things. The other tokens in which I've said that have not failed, and be advised, OMI is my smallest bag. I mean, I have like a little bit of like other things that, you know, a couple $100 and here and there, which is nothing, but Definity is my biggest bag. I have a ton of that. DEVVE is pretty close. I'm close to being in that whale group, and then there's some other reasons in a way in which I have more Definity that's not exactly mine, but it is partially mine. And then daCat, which is my own IP. Again, I had spent, what was it, over $500,000 on OMI in the double zeros. And then as it's gotten down to the triple zeros, I spent another 100K. And now OMI is my smallest bag. So I understand 100% where Jeremy's coming from, where he's just probably tired of seeing it go down. Well, what have I done? I've gone on and I've taken a look at the company and their fundamentals and their revenues and their active daily users and their new users, and I've determined that OMI is just super undervalued. You know, he says he's never sold a single OMI, even though I think when he got OMI, the price he got it at was probably in the quad zeros, so he's probably still up on it. It's just curious, see, like, he's got a very sour attitude from it, and, you know, with fair reason. You know, he once had millions of dollars likely worth of this token, and now it's probably not even six figures. And okay, same Uncle Jay. I think the main difference is I spent a lot on my OMI, and I don't think he spent a lot on his. Again, that being said, I understand where the saltiness is coming from, but again, I have 3 other cryptos, one of which is daCat, that is bigger than my OMI bag. And I'm still bullish on OMI. I'm still buying it. And do I wish it was different and OMI was at 2 cents right now? Yeah, absolutely. I'd sell half of my $6 million and I would go in and buy up the other stuff that is still undervalued. And yeah, I still believe OMI goes to 2 to 4 cents in a blow off top bull market. When does that happen? Probably sometime Q2 2026, maybe Q1, heck, maybe even this quarter. We don't know. This is going to be a long video though, so I'm going to end it here. Comment, like, and subscribe. Comment's good for the YouTube algorithm. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. I love you guys. Meow.